What do you believe is the highest grossing movie of 2025? Minecraft?
Chicken jockey.
Zootopia 2? Jurassic World Rebirth? Maybe it's even that live action Lilo and Stitch remake. Now, while any other year these would be good assumptions to make, the highest grossing movie of 2025 is actually a masterclass in animation from China, of all places. Ne Zha 2 doubles the box office of Lilo and Stitch, sitting at over $2 billion. And most people in the West have never heard of it. This film is an absolutely gorgeous exploration of 3D animation, pushing the genre to heights really not seen since Across the Spider-Verse. You have intricate detail, fluid depictions of Chinese martial arts, and probably some of the best visual effects of all time. And they are paired with a surprisingly deep story that explores the themes of revenge, justice, sacrifice, and rebellion. It has all the makings of an all-time classic, but it's had very little traction in Western markets and has been actively snubbed at every major award show, not qualifying for nominations at the Golden Globes or the Oscars. And I'm here to ask you why. Why has the award system chosen to actively snub and block the biggest film of the year? Well, hello, friends. My name is Bates Dust, and I am the host of the Peak of Fiction podcast. And I'm here today to discuss something a little bit different than our normal programming. And that's, why is Hollywood so afraid of Ne Zha 2? Now, what is Ne Zha 2? Ne Zha 2 is a sequel to the popular Chinese movie Ne Zha, which is based on the Chinese mythological character of Ne Zha, who is also an important character in the Investor of the Gods book or series. Ne Zha, or characters heavily inspired by him, show up in a lot of stuff. And you may have seen or played something with Ne Zha in it. You have Smite, Warframe, Fate Grand Order. I mean, anything if you got those little buns on the head, fire wheels on the feet, that's Ne Zha. Now, Ne Zha 1 tells the story of Ne Zha and Ao Bing. And these are two characters that are destined to be rivals, as one was born infused with evil energy, and one was born with divine. In spite of their differences, they become close friends, and they are able to avoid the fates laid out for them by both society at large and the gods themselves. And this really is a good twist on the myth, because it directly plays with the Chinese audience's expectations. Because in most versions of this legend, Ne Zha kills Ao Bing in the source material, and then he has to go on to even fight Ao Bing's father, the Eastern Dragon King Ao Guang. Now, with this twist, it leads directly to Ne Zha 2, where, as I described, Ao Guang is not too happy with how the events of Ne Zha 1 played out. And he's ready to wipe out Ne Zha's hometown of Chengteng Pass with his dragon army. But in a twist of fate, Ao Bing's soul is bound directly to Ne Zha's body, so they're kind of in it together. And they have 7 days to complete the trials of heaven to save Ao Bing's body and soul, or Ao Guang and his dragons will finish their job. So it's kind of like a race against time. Now, of course, this is a massive simplification of a pretty deep plot, and especially for a movie that's aimed at audiences of all ages and is definitely aimed at children. I would even say this film in particular has some very heavy scenes and plot beats for a child audience. Like, there's some pretty big wipeouts and some surprisingly cruel deaths. But, hey, if you watch any child's movie in the 90s, you'd feel right at home. Now, my glaze for this movie is not without reason, because in February of this year, My friends and I went to our city's movie theater to see this strange and wonderful Chinese film. All that I had to go on, and I'm the person who suggested to see Ne Zha 2, was reports that it was really popular overseas and supposedly had good animation. I'd never seen the first film, so I was going in totally blind, in fact, even more than blind, because I had no context for anything. But when I tell you, when the lights began to dim, I was just not entertained, but somehow reborn. Dazzling images on a huge silver screen. Okay. It was a truly a transcendent experience in that movie theater. The characters, the plot, the animation were all spectacular. But the fights, no, those were next level. The wuxia style combat was so exquisitely animated with some of the best action set pieces I had seen the entire year. I mean, check this out. So I was practically levitating out of that theater, and I told every single person that I knew just how amazing this movie was. Now, unfortunately, my one-man campaign of proselytizing the goodness of Ne Zha 2 did not go that far, and it was pretty much unnoticed in the West the first time around. But August this year, Ne Zha 2 got an English dub published by A24 of all people, with such voice talents as Michelle Yeoh, Alex Lee, and William Ute. And this assuredly began Ne Zha mania in the West, and the streets were filled with masses of newly converted fans singing the praises of this animated masterpiece. Well, no, not quite. That didn't happen. I wish it did, but it didn't. But, very important to remember, Ne Zha 2 had been released in the States with a dubbed track. So it is not as if this particular movie was gated or locked to just China, or was denied localization for years, like Battle at Lake Changjin. This means, this is very important, even if American audiences weren't on board, it should qualify to be nominated for awards when the season rolled around. And yet, here we are. It did not qualify for the Oscars or the Golden Globes. And it's a film that, for visual quality alone, deserves to be in the same conversations as Elio, K-pop Demon Hunters, or Zootopia. And I'm just going to say this. It looks better than all those films, objectively. Ne Zha 2 just looks better than all those films, but that's neither here nor there. But let's just say, right, the fine curators of the Golden Globes do not have functioning eyes or ears. They were incapable of beholding Ne Zha 2 in all its glory. Let's just go with this pretense. There's one category for the Golden Globes that Ne Zha 2 objectively clears. And that is the admittedly criticized Award for Cinematic and Box Office Achievement. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of this award. It feels like a gimme to normies that only watch blockbuster movies, and it's just something for, general audiences to look forward to. I don't think it's a good award. But, even with that, Ne Zha 2 is literally, at the time of this video's release, the highest grossing movie of 2025. Furthermore, Ne Zha 2 is the highest grossing animated movie of all time. There is no greater candidate for the Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award. I gotta stress this enough. It literally achieved the highest box office of the year. Avatar 3 is on the list, and it isn't even out yet. K-pop Demon Hunters is a Netflix movie, and it wasn't even released to theaters outside of sing-along events. It shouldn't even qualify. So, this snub can truly only make sense if the people behind these nominations don't think that the Chinese are people. Because I guess their ticket purchases don't count. That's the only way this logically adds up. because I'm struggling to think of any other explanation for this snub other than blatant xenophobia. And this is something the Oscars and Globes have a very long and established record of engaging in. And this xenophobia has only ramped up in recent years because China has emerged as US's direct political rival. And I'm serious, 100%, dead serious when I say Ne Zha 2 would be hailed as the greatest achievement in animation, perhaps even in fiction, if its origin had been Korean or Japanese. And you can't say, well, Ne Zha 2 was just too impenetrable. The cultural differences are just too great. When you have properties like, K-pop Demon Hunters or Demon Slayer that are just steeped in their personal Korean and Japanese culture. Okay? And they are so popular in the West. It's just Chinese. It's just Chinese, and people have a problem with Chinese things for some reason. So, I'm going to say, at the end of the day, what prevents Chinese cinema from blowing up in the West and being properly recognized for its achievements, its progress, is politics. And that sucks. Hollywood is afraid of Chinese cinema because America is starting to be afraid of China. American soft power is waning on a global scale. Movies that were once guaranteed hits in the Chinese box office are now being rejected by Chinese audiences in favor of their own cinematic productions. Chinese people are starting to engage with and love movies that push their own patriotic messages and nationalism, instead of the American patriotism nationalism that's been shoved down their throats for decades. And while this may be a surprising circumstance, it is not so fun when the rabbit has the gun. And the novelty that Hollywood once had in the 2000s for Chinese cinema is quickly turning to fear and aggression. But you can only stem the tide so much in our connected world, and I have a lot of faith for Chinese stories and cinema. More and more people are liking Chinese fiction, whether that be slop like micro dramas or actually some pretty good stuff like the manhwas or video games like Black Myth Wukong. And mark my words, it is only a matter of time before Ne Zha 2 takes off in the West. On December 24th of this year, it is set to release on HBO Max. It's not going to be long before you're going to start seeing edits and fight compilations appearing on TikTok and YouTube, and there's going to be a massive wave of new fans just hungry after seeing this gem of a film. Okay, and trust me, there's a lot of space there for those people who write fan fiction that are going to be on this film. I'm just saying. And I would say, in a very short-sighted attempt to deny an amazing piece of art attention in the West, this prestigious award show just proves how hollow it is, because more and more people will appreciate this masterpiece. So hey, maybe they're right to be afraid of Ne Zha 2. I mean, Lord knows, if I was working in Western animation, I would be too.
There's no change in the plan. Why?